Warm greetings from the High 10. It is Everyday Shenanigans and Monday, the start of a new week, January 27, 2020. I want to bring you said information from the ID channel. There was an episode that I watched on the ID channel the other day, and it is a story of a young lady who went missing and was later found deceased in a shallow grave out of Indianapolis, Indiana. And her name is Angela, Jeana, and Barlow. And she was 23 years of age, and she went missing and was later found deceased. And I want to give you that said information. If you need verification for this story, please log on to the ID channel. This is Season 2, Episode 4, Still a Mystery. Angie Barlow, was 23 years of age, and she was a stripper, and this was her way of making money until she could afford to go to cosmetology school and one day, open up a salon of her own. But in the meanwhile, this was her way of making money, and she had taken a trip to Miami, where I guess she had spent quite a bit of money, and she was in need of money to pay her bills and said things. So she decided to take upon herself to go to a private party where a lady said she needed someone to dance for her husband. Now, mind you, she never spoke to the person personally via text, which is a very odd way of communicating with someone for business purposes. But eventually she broke down after numerous texts from this anonymous person and took the job. The person sent her the information via text, the address, and she showed up to this place. While in the bathroom, she sent a Snapchat to a friend to let her know that she was there, show the young lady what she was wearing, and that everything was all good. But things weren't all good. A day later, Miss Angie goes missing, and no one has heard from her. And flyers, newscasts, a reward goes up for this young lady, and no one hears anything else from Miss Angie Barlow. Mind you, her car shows up 12 days later, found discarded. No purse or keys were found, and this said vehicle that belonged to her, which was a G6 four-door blue Pontiac car, was found without Miss Angie in the car or nowhere near the car. And it was 8 miles away from the said location of the party that she attended to perform as a dancer. Miss Barlow met a man that she dated. He met her at one of the places that she performed at the club, and his name was Barron. And she dated Mr. Barron. He was an African-American male, alleged drug dealer, and had been incarcerated in prison previously. Now, mind you, Miss Angie is a Caucasian female, and she was dating this African-American male. The timeline I do not know, how long I do not know, but the gist of the story is that Mr. Barron had a girlfriend. Yes. And as I state, this obviously wasn't disclosed to her. If it was, I don't have verification of the said information. But lo and behold, that the said place where Miss Angie went to dance on this fateful night, October 26, 2016, belonged to Mr. Barron. Yes, the guy she had dated. This was his apartment. It was verified that he lived there with his girlfriend, Raven, and that Raven was the one who lured Miss Angie to this apartment for the said party. There is video surveillance showing the blue Pontiac G6 driving off the property and Miss Raven's car behind the blue G6 Pontiac. And as I state to you, this young lady went missing. 12 days later, her car was found discarded without her personal effects. And then 8 months later, Miss Angie Barlow was found in a shallow grave in a residential wooded area. And mind you, where she was found was linked to this Barron fellow. Yes, you see, near the home or behind the home where she was buried, Miss Barlow, in a shallow 5 foot grave, was near a house that was rented by Barron's family members. Now, naturally, police detectives talked to Barron and Mrs. Raven. They did not have solid evidence to confirm that they were behind this murder of Miss Angie Barlow. They denied having any knowledge of her whereabouts. The woman did admit that she was at the apartment and that she left at 3 a.m. with a fella, and that was all she knew. But lo and behold, there is video surveillance showing Angie's car leaving the property and Miss Raven's car following suit. So who was driving her car? And I think we all know that Angie didn't crawl herself in that 5-foot grave on the property that was rented at one point by Barron's relatives. So you see, there's the connection there, but the police has no evidence. A tipster called into the police department to give verification to the location of Miss Angie Barlow. And it was a crackhead junkie who said that Barron hired him and other junkies to dispose of her body. Police do not believe this person's allegations and found him to be uncredible. Why, I do not know. And what you have to ask yourself is, why is that? Why do you not believe him? So, shortly after the disappearance of Angie Barlow, Barron and Raven disappear out of the state of Indiana, and they moved to Phoenix, Arizona. I do not know if they are currently living there. I do not even know if they are still together, but that was the last location listed in this documentary on the ID channel. I found this an intriguing story because, one, she's a female, I'm a female, and all life is valuable, no matter the circumstances of what a person was doing at the time of their disappearance, demise, they are still human. And she was a young girl. She had 3 other sisters, and she deserved justice. And her mother, Christina, and family are rallying to get justice for these 2 people who they do believe are responsible for the demise of Miss Angie Barlow. Her friends also believe they are complicit in the murder of Angie Barlow. And I would like to read to you a Facebook post from Miss Christina toward the killers who took away her child so early. If you need verification for this, you can log on to Justice for Angie. It is an open and public Facebook page for Miss Angie Barlow. This is Christina Barlow Kramer's message to the killers. Don't you ever for 1 second even remotely come close to thinking that I will ever forget what you did to my daughter. I will always remember every single little gory detail of what you did. I've always known your next move before you made it. Don't think I ain't never known where you been. Even when folks were saying, oh, they missing too, just like your daughter Angie. Nah. I knew where you little coward asses were hiding out. Excuse my language. Big and bad, take a life, hide a body, and take off like a coward. Body found, take off again like a coward. Streets talk. Streets always talk. Keep living the good life while you can. And enjoy what my daughter was never given the opportunity to have, because you took her life. Because one day, just like my daughter's life, the high life that you're living will be just a memory to you, and you can sit behind bars and mourn the life you don't get to have anymore because of the choices you made to take my daughter's life. When your day comes, I'm going to be there, and that's only a matter of time. Don't ever underestimate the determination of a bereaved mother. Hashtag bet, hashtag justice for Angie. And this is on the Justice for Angie Facebook page. Christina's, who is her mother, her message to the killers. And obviously she believes that Barron and Raven killed her daughter. And I must say, after watching the documentary on the ID channel, I concur. I read another post, another information on a site, a news channel that thinks possibly it could have been a serial killer in the area, human trafficking, woo. You know, everyone is entitled to their theory, but I'm going to go with what makes common sense. And most of you who follow me and listen to me, you know that's how Big Ange rolls. I go with solid, concrete evidence. I go with also circumstantial, because sometimes that can be the greatest tool to finding out who murdered someone, got them missing, yeah. The fact that Miss Angie Barlow was found on near the property, let's say near the property, in a shallow grave of relatives that were related to Mr. Barron, a guy she dated, a guy who also verifies that she was in the apartment with his girlfriend. What are the odds that you dated this young lady? She goes missing. She's found 8 months later in a shallow grave on near, let me say near, be specific, near your relative's home where they rented at one time. Her body was found in a shallow grave near a home that was once rented by Barron's relatives. Now you ask yourself, you think that was just some stranger did that? A serial killer, human trafficking? I doubt it. I think Barron and Raven are behind this. And what I want to know is, did they take a lie detector test? Did they pass the lie detector test? Why did the police not believe the junkie who gave information to where she could be found? Think about that for just a second. You are looking for a missing person. Someone comes out of the blue and tells you where you can find her. And she's actually found, but dead. And yet you say, the detectives, well, I don't believe him. So what happens to him? Because he had to have some knowledge. And why would he admit to where she could be found and say that I and others were hired to dispose of her? That means he is implicating himself in putting her there, which is a crime. Because one would have to wonder, was this a setup? Which I think it was. But was the setup also in mind to have these people already lined up, or you call them afterwards, Mr. Barron and Raven? See, you'll never know. But this is what I want to tell you all about people who are complicit in crimes. For those of you who follow true crime stories, it is only a matter of time that one of these heathens is going to fold and tell on the other. Because you see, one of these heathens is going to get in trouble. And I'm going to bet it is going to be Barron, because he's already been in prison for drug charges. And more than likely, he'll get in trouble again. And then the little sweetie pie that he'd been dating, they won't be together. And then she'll decide she want to tell the truth, or she'll spin the web to somebody else, or he might spin the web. Because you see, people like this, they love to talk and gab, or as some people would say, pillow talk. In their least defining moments, when they have trusted another person with their secret, they will tell it. I won't doubt that they already have. But you see, most people won't come forward because they don't want to testify in court. We have learned that from so many cases and things I've discussed on this channel, that people like to lie in the cut and play crazy and act as if they're scared to talk. And in some instances, I can understand being afraid to speak, because you don't know if this person will come after you or send people after you. But let's be truthful. This is a young lady who was brutally murdered, and God only knows what they did to her, because the mother was not descriptive, but I can get the hint that it was not so nice, whatever they did to her. And I believe it was a setup, because what are the odds that this guy Barron that she dated, that she met at a club where she danced, she is now, or at that time, lured to an apartment where he actually lived, and no one could think in her right mind she would go there knowing that's where he lived, and also had a girlfriend. And her mother and friend says there's no way in the world she would have gone there had she known it was Barron and his girlfriend. And it makes logical sense. She would have never been that desperate for money to go dance for him and his girlfriend. Now, some would argue maybe there was something going on with them. I don't know, and I don't want to allude to that. I do not, and I won't even go there, because I think it was a setup. I think she was leery for some reason, naturally, not to go when she first was receiving the text messages from this unknown person. I wish for her sake that she had not gone there to that apartment. Because you see, I can see going myself, not knowing who the other person is. And how did they get her number? I wonder, did she question that? Did she ask them, hey, who are you? How did you get my number? How did you know I dance? Do you see? You wonder all that now. But I am seeking justice for Miss Angie Barlow. I'm praying that someone will open their mouth and give said pertinent information to the murder of Angie Barlow, and they will give the spoken word on who killed her and the reason. And I asked myself, how do you wake up one day and ask a boyfriend to kill the other woman, or however you want to word it? And how does he concur? Because you see, you're the one who orchestrated and got the mess started in the first place, Mr. Barron. You dated this girl, and you knew you had a girlfriend, and then what happened? Raven found out, and so she set up this scheme to lure her to the apartment, and then you all bum rushed that girl and did whatever to her and then dumped her like trash in a shallow grave. On property that's linked to some of your relatives. Now that was real smart. Police believe they are involved. They're the only two suspects that they think committed this crime. They do not have solid evidence to arrest these two, Barron and Raven, but the police in the documentary stated that they do believe that they are the two complicit in the murder of Angie Barlow. And they believe they set that girl up and lured her there, as does her family and her friends believe. It was a setup to lure her there. And I don't know how anyone could call somebody up and they fall for the ruse and show up and you kill them because of a man. And I can't understand the man going along with it. I don't know whose idea it was. Could have been just the woman's. Could have been just his. Or they both decided, okay, we'll get rid of her. And that has happened in many cases. A woman finds out that a man is dating some other woman, wife, lady, married to him, whatever, or dating him. And he goes along with setting the stage for luring the young lady to meet him somewhere. And then up pops the girlfriend or wife. And they do horrible things to the girl, lady. And then they kill her and discard of her. That's trash. You see, it takes a certain mindset to kill a human being for no reason. To plot, to set up the scheme, to get someone else to conspire, and to get someone else to help dispose of the body. It takes a certain type of person. But these people are out here every day. They're grand manipulators. They're chameleons. They walk by you, talk, laugh. You have no idea you're sitting beside them at your job or wherever, school, church, whatever. And I feel sorry for those people who know these two, Barron and Raven. Because they're nice-looking people. The guy, he's nice-looking. The girl, she's a pretty girl. But they're trash nonetheless. Because if they killed this girl, looks don't mean anything. They never have mean anything. They will never have meaning. Because looks ain't nothing. And that just goes to show you, you don't know people. This young lady was just out trying to make a living. She hooked up with the wrong guy. And I'm assuming the other girlfriend found out. And that's when the plot ensued to lure her to that apartment. Now, no evidence was found in that apartment, but the police believes that the crime took place there, and she was taken from there and dumped. And as I state to you, her car is seen on surveillance leaving the property with Raven's car behind hers. So we know that Angie didn't drive herself off that property. And I don't think she was alive to drive off the property. One of them was in her car, and they dumped it, and they got in the car with the other party. Angie Barlow, your death will not be in vain. I will mention your name periodically on this channel, as I will with other victims of crime, domestic. It does not matter. Please like and share. Thanks for joining me. Drop your comments below, and I will be back with another update. This is Everyday Shenanigans. Thank you.